There's never been a briefing where I've skipped you. So, Hiva, go ahead.
Just a follow-up. When you are calling on other countries to step up in the region, who do you mean? I mean, I'm not asking you about China and Russia, but other countries. When are you talking for the Lebanese, for example? Who can step up?
So my answer to that would be we would welcome any country that would play a positive role in trying to calm tensions in the region. So every country has different roles that they can play. Obviously, I'll just give you some examples. Egypt and Qatar are playing a direct role in trying to mediate the conflict in Gaza and reach a ceasefire. Other countries at times have been incredibly useful in delivering messages to Iran that it should refrain from any escalation. And we would encourage any countries in the region or outside the region for that matter to play productive roles in trying to de-escalate tensions.
Thank you.
So, Geeta, go ahead.
In response to Michelle, you just said what Iran can do to help the situation. The Iranian president also said that he was willing to go back, adhere to the JCPOA. Now, are these items actions that you just mentioned, could those be maybe something that you would expect Iran to do before U.S. would be willing to engage?
So I would say as a matter of first instance, before you talk about any sort of nuclear accords, Iran needs to stop blocking the work of the IEA. That's the first thing. They continue to block the work of the IEA, the legitimate work of the IEA. That is the first thing before you can even get into that type of discussion. Saeed, it didn't take too long.
I want to ask you, what kind of message is Israel sending by doing this attack today, while a high-level American envoy to do precisely the opposite of what they did? What kind of message are they sending? Are they just saying, I want to understand further. I know. I mean, I'm just following up on that point. So, because Israel has like a tradition of doing that. I mean, every time there's a high-level American visitor, they either increase settlements, or they attack, or they increase their attacks and do things like this. So obviously, they're not really interested in what you're calling for in diplomacy. Isn't that true?
So I don't have anything to add about this incident than what I said in response to the previous questions. I will say with respect to diplomacy, as I said in response to one of the other questions, countries have to make their own decisions, but we continue to believe that a military escalation to this conflict will not achieve Israel's goal of returning the people who have been displaced from their homes to their homes quickly.
No, I mean, I just want, I'm talking about not the incident itself, but the pattern in which Israel has been, basically well known for over many, many years. I mean, we all remember when President Biden was vice president, he went there for the first time, and they had this, announcement of settlement and so on. There is, sort of a tradition. Okay, so let me take you back to the legitimacy of targets and so on. Yesterday, a group of settlers attacked a school in Jericho. They beat up the students, they broke their bones, they beat up the teachers and so on. Are they a legitimate target? Should they be a legitimate target by the same kind of definition in which you have defined the other targets?
Are civilians who the settlers attacking legitimate targets? Absolutely not.
No, I'm saying the settlers who have attacked the civilians.
The settlers should be.
Should the settlers be a legitimate target?
The settlers should be held accountable through law enforcement means.
Not
through any type of extrajudicial process or military process. They should be held account by law enforcement, which is what we would say about any type of violent attacks on individuals. That the law enforcement ought to hold them accountable to the full extent of the law.
Although they do take the law into their own hand time and time again, very violently.
Absolutely, which is why we believe they should be held accountable. And as you've seen the United States make clear through our own actions, if and when Israel does not step up and hold people accountable, we will do so ourselves.
I know that you can, in years past, you designated the Kahana group as a terrorist organization. Should, armed settlers like this, that you keep sanctioning and so on, be also named as terrorist organizations?
I'm not going to speak to any type of designations before we would make that any such determination, but we will continue to hold extremist settlers accountable for violent actions.
A couple more questions. Now, yesterday there were a group of UN experts that basically called Israel to be a pariah state, and they're calling for, of course, a ceasefire and so on, and because over what they termed as genocide. And my question to you is, back on June 10, there was a UN resolution which you pushed for, which you basically made a good case for. 14 people voted for it, or 14 members voted for it in the Security Council. Russia abstained and so on, but the resolution passed. So why not go back and try to implement this resolution? Will the president or will the United States take advantage of this UNGA meeting to basically enforce such resolutions?
We are trying to enforce that resolution, Saeed. The way to enforce that resolution is to reach a ceasefire. If you remember what that resolution called for, it was for a ceasefire to the conflict in Gaza.
Right.
And the secretary is on his way
Right.
to Egypt right now to try to finalize that ceasefire as one of a number of administration officials who have been working to get that ceasefire over the line in the past few weeks.
But although it seems that the Israeli prime minister keeps moving the goalposts. He keeps moving the goalposts now, including Lebanon, including this and so on, as to the thing. They're the ones that keep changing the terms of the resolution that Hamas has agreed to, the mediators have agreed to, and so on.
So while I'm not going to negotiate in public, Saeed, I think it is well known, it's been well reported, and I've spoken to it from here that we have seen Hamas make additional demands through this process as well.
And finally, I know you said that you don't want to talk about a timetable as far as the new proposal is concerned and so on. Is it likely to occur between now and the gathering in New York next week?
When I say I don't want to give a timetable, I mean it.
I mean, we're talking.
When I said I'm not going to give a timetable, I'm not going to then come and
we're not talking about
put
time.
a
We're
4
talking
or 5 day timetable, and I very much mean.
We're talking about the venue. Maybe they would take advantage.
A venue that is time bound. So no, I'm not going to make any predictions.